He demanded it of himself. He had to do it. That's the difference between greatness and being an ordinary individual.
Welcome back, everybody. Delighted to have you with me, and also absolutely delighted to have Bob Terson with me. Welcome back, Bob.
Great to be here, John.
It is great, and we've talked about greatness and striving for greatness, and I know you've got some further topics on how to actually achieve that greatness. Get going.
Well, I call it a self-demand to succeed.
Self-demand to succeed.
Yes, that you'll accept nothing else but success because you have to do it. You have to have it. Let me tell you a story, true story. And I believe this goes back to somewhere in the 1920s or the 1930s, I forget.
Mm-hmm.
But a young man, I believe it was in England, but I may be wrong about that. But he was late to a mathematics examination, final examination. And he got in there late, and there was a sheet of paper with a number of problems for the exam, and there were 2 problems put on the blackboard. And the ones on the blackboard had a note that you could write them down and work on them, and then turn them in when you solved them.
Mm-hmm.
So he worked the problems on the paper, got them all done, and then he wrote down the material for the 2 problems
On the blackboard?
On the blackboard, turned in the paper and left, and he started working on the first problem that had been on the blackboard, and he couldn't do anything with it. There was just no way to do anything with it. And he worked on it day after day after day, and there was just nothing he could do. And he was up all night and all day. And finally, he solved it. And then he started working on the second one. And it was the same story. He couldn't do anything with it, and he just worked on it day and night, over and over, and trying to drive himself crazy, but he had to have a perfect exam. And he knew it. He had to have it. And so he kept working on it until he solved it. And then he turned them in. The professor wasn't there, but he laid it on his professor's desk. And he left. A couple days later, the professor comes knocking on the door, pounding on the door. And the young man opens the door, and the professor's there, and he says, "Do you know what you've done? Do you know what you've done?" The guy says, "No, what did I do?" He says, "Those 2 problems that were on the blackboard, they weren't part of the test." They weren't? No. I put them up there as 2 problems that are unsolvable, that have the greatest mathematicians in history have worked on and have never been able to solve. And you solved them. You did the impossible. Why did he do the impossible? Because he had to. In his mind, he had to do it. Now, if somebody had told him, these are 2 unsolvable problems, do you think he would have worked that hard to solve them? No way. No way. He demanded it of himself. He had to do it. That's the difference between greatness and being an ordinary individual.
That's absolutely true. If you have that drive and you commit yourself to it and you don't know it
You
can't be done.
have to do it.
Absolutely.
You have to do it.
Absolutely. And it can be done. It's amazing what the human being is capable of when they have that absolute commitment.
Yeah, I cannot fail at this. I must accomplish it. I have to do it.
Great story. And look, I think we all need to take something from that. There's lots of other stories most of you can probably relate to, but it's really important. Go out, commit yourself to doing it. You have to do it, and you will. That's the story.
That's it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, John.